Picture this. You're a Persian scout. It's 480 BC. You've been sent ahead to spy on the Spartan army that's blocking your path. You're expecting to see, I don't know, massive fortifications, giants, sharpening weapons, war preparations, chaos. Instead, you see 300 men sitting on the ground, completely naked, carefully combing their long hair, rubbing oil on their skin, like they're at a spa. You run back to your boss, King Xerxes, the most powerful man on earth, and you're like, dude, I think they've lost their minds. They're out there doing their hair. Xerxes laughs. He thinks it's hilarious. His enemies are having a beauty day before battle, but standing next to him is an exiled Spartan king. And he's not laughing. He turns to Xerxes and says something that makes the blood drain from the great king's face. They're not grooming themselves for vanity. They only fix their hair when they know they're about to die. What you saw wasn't a spa day. It was a funeral ritual. Those men aren't planning to survive the week. And here's the crazy part. A was right. Those 300 men were about to fight the most one-sided battle in human history. And somehow, they were gonna win. Well, sort of. Stay with me, because this story is absolutely insane. Hey, by the end, you're gonna understand why we still talk about these guys 2,500 years later. Real quick before we dive in, if you're really into history that's actually wild and not the boring stuff they taught you in school, smash that like button, subscribe, hit the bell, all that good stuff. You can drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. Alright, let's get into it. So first thing you gotta understand, those 300 Spartans, they weren't even supposed to be there. Here's what happened. It's August 480 BC. The Persians are invading Greece with the biggest army the world has ever seen. We're talking hundreds of thousands of soldiers. It's an absolute tsunami of men marching west to conquer Europe. The Greeks are freaking out. Yo, Sparta, we need your army now. But there's a problem. It's the Carnia, religious festival in Sparta where warfare is strictly forbidden. Like you, march an army during the Carnia. The gods will literally curse you. You could be executed or exiled. Spartan government is like, sorry guys, we can't help. Gotta wait till after the festival. Moon's gotta be full and all that. But King Leonidas, he knows that's BS. He knows if they wait, Greece is toast. The Persians aren't gonna pause their invasion because of some Greek holiday. So Leonidas finds a loophole. He can't take the army, but he can take a personal bodyguard. Normally, this bodyguard would be young elite soldiers, the best of the best cadets. But Leonidas does something weird. He dismisses all the young guys. Instead, he handpicks 300 older veterans. And here's a detail that proves this was a suicide mission from day one. Every single man he chose had to have a living son back in Sparta. Think about that for a second. He's not building a tactical unit. He's making sure that when these dudes die, their bloodlines don't die with them. He's selecting fathers, men who've already passed on their genes. This is a one-way trip. And everybody knows it. When Leonidas leaves his wife, Queen Gorgo, she doesn't ask him to come home safe. She asks him for his final orders. In his response, he doesn't say, I love you. He doesn't promise to return. He says, marry a good man and have good children. Dude was already dead in his mind. He'd already made peace with it. So these 300 fathers marched north to a place called Thermopylae. In Greek, that means the hot gates. It's this narrow mountain pass where the cliffs meet the sea. They get there and join up with about 7,000 other Greek soldiers from different city-states. 7,000 sounds like a lot, right? Yeah, until you see what's coming. Alright, so in the movies, the Persian army looks like this disorganized mob of slaves being whipped into battle, right? That's complete Hollywood BS. The Persian Empire was the most advanced, wealthiest, technologically superior military machine the world had ever seen. Herodotus, the Greek historian, claimed Xerxes brought over 2 million men. He said, when they stopped for lunch, they literally drank rivers dry. Now, modern historians are like, okay, that's probably an exaggeration. But even the conservative estimates, we're talking about 200,000 combat troops, plus support staff, engineers, cooks, supply chains. In 480 BC, that's not an army. That's a migrating city. To give you context, that's bigger than the entire population of most Greek city-states combined. And moving a force that size, that's basically magically veiled logistics. Xerxes spent 4 years preparing for this invasion. 4 years. He didn't just march his army. He reshaped the geography of Earth to fit his needs. There's this peninsula called Mount Athos. A previous Persian fleet got destroyed there by a storm. Xerxes looked at it and was like, nah, we're not risking that again. So what did he do? He ordered his engineers to dig a canal through solid rock for 1.5 miles, just so his navy wouldn't have to sail round a corner. Let me repeat that. He cut a shipping lane through a mountain because it was slightly inconvenient. Then there's the Hellespont, the narrow strait separating Asia from Europe. Xerxes built 2 pontoon bridges using almost 700 warships tied together with cables so thick they weighed as much as tree trunks. He paved the decks with wood and dirt so his horses would unfreak out looking at the water below. He literally walked his empire across the ocean. This is the level of power we're talking about. The Persians had supply depots all along the coast. They'd been stockpiling millions of pounds of grain for years. They were an industrial force. Here's the thing, that massive size. It was also Xerxes' biggest weakness. 200,000 men eat a lot of food. We're talking hundreds of tons of wheat every single day. Thousands of gallons of water. The land couldn't support them for long. Xerxes couldn't just sit outside Thermopylae and wait for the Spartans to starve. His own army would starve first. He had to keep moving. He had to break through. This changes everything about the battle. It's not just a fight. It's a race against time. Leonidas didn't need to kill everybody. He just needed to stop the clock, Every hour the Spartans held that pass was an hour the Persian beast got hungrier, thirstier, more desperate. Xerxes is sitting on his golden throne, looking at this tiny line of Greeks blocking his path, and he's got all the numbers, all the resources, the God-given right to rule the world. But he's stuck, so he gives the order. Attack. Now, Leonidas didn't pick Thermopylae by accident. In ancient warfare, geography is everything, and Thermopylae is a defensive masterpiece. The name means hot gates because there were these natural sulfur springs bubbling up from the mountains. The whole area smelled like rotten eggs and looked like it was steaming. To the superstitious Persian soldiers marching toward it, this place literally looked like the entrance to hell. But strategically, it was perfect, Back in 480 BC, the coastline was different than today. The sea came right up to the cliffs. The pass was incredibly narrow. At the tightest point, about 50 feet wide. 50 feet. That's like the width of a small street. And this is the most important detail in the entire story. It doesn't matter that Xerxes has 200,000 men. It doesn't matter that he's got cavalry, chariots, archers, siege weapons. In a space that narrow, you can't use any of that. Can't flank the enemy. You can't surround them. Can't overwhelm them with numbers. You have to come straight at them, head on, in a column. This is what military theorists call a force multiplier. The terrain itself becomes a weapon. At the point of contact, it's not 200,000 versus 7,000. It's 100 Persians against 100 Greeks. And in a fair fight, man to man, Leonidas likes those odds, cause the Spartans aren't just soldiers, they're purpose-built killing machines. Alright, so the Greeks locked their shields together. They formed this wall of bronze and wood that spans the entire width of the pass. The Persians see this. They see the red cloaks. They hear the Spartans chanting battle hymns. Xerxes gives the signal. The first wave charges. Thousands of Persian soldiers running full speed, screaming war cries meant to terrify the enemy. But the Greeks, they don't make a sound. They don't move. They just stand there, shields locked, spears level. The Persians slam into that wall with the force of a car crash. It's absolute carnage. Here's why. The Persians are designed for open field combat. They're light, fast. They relied on archers and mobility. Their armor is quilted linen or fish scale iron. Their shields are made of wicker, woven branches, great for stopping arrows. Useless against a heavy blow. Their spears are short. Their swords are basically daggers. The Spartans, they're built for one thing, the collision. They're wearing bronze breastplates, carrying these massive shields called hoplons, 20 pounds of wood and bronze. When they stand in formation, each shield covers the guy's own left side and his buddy's right side. It's interlocking. If one guy runs, the whole wall breaks. But Spartans don't run, and they're fighting with the dory. A spear that's 7 to 9 feet long. Do the math. Persian weapons, maybe 3 feet. Spartan spears, 9 feet. The Persians are dying before they can even touch the Greeks. Imagine being in that front line, here being pushed forward by thousands of men behind you, but you can't reach the enemy. All you see is a bronze wall with no gaps, and out of that wall, row after row of spear points are just stabbing, rhythmic, mechanical, like a sewing machine of death. You try to grab a spear to break it. The Spartan just flips it around and stabs you with a spike on the other end. As the bodies pile up, the Greeks literally use them as pavement. They step forward, pushing corpses with their shields, paving the ground with dead Persians. This isn't the sword-fighting duels you see in movies. This is industrial slaughter. The back rows of Greeks are pushing into the front rows, driving the whole wall forward like a bulldozer. The pressure is so intense that guys in the front are being crushed to death without even getting stabbed. Ribs are cracking. Lungs are collapsing, just from the weight of the push. For the Persians, it's a nightmare. Their wicker shields are shattering. Their swords can't penetrate bronze armor. They're fighting faceless warriors who never speak, never scream, never stop killing. Herodotus says Xerxes jumped to his feet 3 times watching this. Not because he's scared for his life, but because his entire worldview is collapsing. He's the king of kings. His army is invincible. And he's watching his soldiers get mulched like wheat. By afternoon, the first wave is broken. Thousands dead. The ground is slick with blood. The Spartans clean their weapons, drink some water, rotate their lines. They haven't even broken a sweat yet, and they know what's coming next, because Xerxes just ran out of patience. He's sending in the Immortals. Dawn, day 3. Leonidas calls a council of war. He looks at his allies, men from Corinth, Arcadia, other cities, and he orders them to leave. Greece needs every sword for the battles ahead. No point throwing away 7,000 lives. But Leonidas himself, he can't leave. Spartan law is clear. A Spartan king does not retreat. Plus, there's a prophecy. The oracle said, either Sparta falls or a king dies. Leonidas chooses to be the sacrifice. But here's where history gets it wrong. The movies say 300 Spartans stood alone. That's not true. When the order to retreat goes out, 700 men from the city of Thespia refuse to leave. Let me be clear. The Spartans were bred for this, trained since childhood. Dying in battle was their purpose. The Thespians, casemen, regular citizens. They had no law forcing them to stay. No prophecy. Their city was directly in the Persian path. God, by staying, they guaranteed their hometown would burn. But they stayed anyway, because they thought it was the right thing to do. So, it's not 300. It's roughly 1,500 men against the Persian army. As the sun rises, Leonidas gathers everyone. He doesn't offer hope. He offers clarity. According to legend, he says, "Eat a good breakfast, men. Tonight, we dine in hell. It's a grim joke. Dark acceptance. Okay. They're not fighting to survive. They're fighting to make the Persians pay. The shields are locked one last time, and they charge. His name is Iphialtes. In the movie 300, he's shown as this deformed hunchback. That's Hollywood drama. In reality, it's just a local Greek guy who wants money. He looks at the battle, looks at Xerxes' desperation, and sees a business opportunity. He tells the Persian generals about a hidden mountain path, the Thermopylae trail. It winds through the forests above the Thermopylae and comes down behind the Spartan wall. It's steep. It's hidden. Okay, but it's passable. For a bag of gold, he'll guide them through. Xerxes doesn't hesitate. Under cover of night, he sends the Immortals up the mountain. Now, Leonidas had anticipated this. He stationed 1,000 Greek soldiers to guard that exact path. But when those guards hear thousands of feet crunching through dry leaves in the darkness, they panic. They retreat to a nearby hilltop to make a defensive stand. And the Persians, okay, they just ignore them, okay? They march right past and head down toward the sea, toward the back of the Spartan line, okay? By dawn, scouts are running into Leonidas' tent. The Persians are behind us. The trap has closed. The hot gates are no longer a shield. Tomb. Dawn. Day 3. Leonidas calls a council of war. He looks at his allies, men from Corinth, Arcadia, other cities, and he orders them to leave. Greece needs every sword for the battles ahead. No point throwing away 7,000 lives. But Leonidas himself, he can't leave. Spartan law is clear. A Spartan king does not retreat. Plus, there's a prophecy. The oracle said, either Sparta falls or a king dies. Leonidas chooses to be the sacrifice. But here's where history gets it wrong. The movies say 300 Spartans stood alone. That's not true. When the order to retreat goes out, 700 men from the city of Thespia refuse to leave. Let me be clear. The Spartans were bred for this. Trained since childhood. Dying in battle was their purpose. The Thespians, casemen, regular citizens. They had no law forcing them to stay. No prophecy. Their city was directly in the Persian path. God, by staying, they guaranteed their hometown would burn. But they stayed anyway, because they thought it was the right thing to do. So, it's not 300. It's roughly 1,500 men against the Persian army. As the sun rises, Leonidas gathers everyone. He doesn't offer hope. He offers clarity. According to legend, he says, eat a good breakfast, men. Tonight, we dine in hell. It's a grim joke. Dark acceptance. Okay. They're not fighting to survive. They're fighting to make the Persians pay. The shields are locked one last time, and they charge. They don't wait for the Persians. They march out into the wider part of the pass and attack. It's not a formation anymore. It's a brawl. The Greeks crash into the Persian lines with the fury of men who've already accepted death. Herodotus says Persian commanders had to stand behind their own troops with whips, forcing them forward. In the chaos, Leonidas falls, cues by arrows or spears. A furious battle erupts over his body. 4 times the Persians tried to take it. 4 times the Greeks drive them back. Against all odds, they drag their king back to their lines. But the weapons are breaking. Spears shatter. Swords snap. And then Herodotus writes something haunting. When their weapons were gone, the Spartans and Thespians fought with their hands and teeth. They're punching armored men, strangling them, biting throats. It's primal, animalistic. The Persians are so terrified they stop charging. Xerxes orders everyone back. Psst. The archers step forward. Thousands of them. They raise their bows, okay? And the sky goes dark. The last defenders don't die fighting. They die huddled together, buried under a storm of arrows. When it's over, silence. The hot gates are finally open, but the price is 20,000 Persian dead, 2 of Xerxes' own brothers, countless nobles, Xerxes is so scared of his own army seeing the carnage that he buries most of his dead and leaves only 1,000 visible, making it look easy. First recorded military propaganda in history. When they find Leonidas' body, Xerxes does something that reveals his broken psyche. He orders the king's head cut off, body impaled on a stake. A complete violation of every law and custom. It's not strength, it's weakness. A tantrum. He couldn't defeat Leonidas' spirit, so he tried to kill the legend. It didn't work. Thermopylae was technically a defeat. The pass was lost. Athens burned. But a few months later, the Greek navy destroyed the Persian fleet at Salamis. A year after that, at the Battle of Plataea, the full Spartan army mobilized, thousands of them, led by Leonidas' nephew. They shattered the Persians. The invasion was over. The 3 days at Thermopylae bought just enough time for Greece to survive, and with it, democracy, philosophy, theater, art, science, the foundations of Western civilization. But if the Spartans had run the world today, might look completely different. We remember them not because they won, because they proved that there are things worth dying for. When Leonidas shouted, "Come and take them," he wasn't talking about weapons. He's talking about freedom. It's about dignity, about the will to say no to overwhelming power. Today, a statue of Leonidas stands at Thermopylae. Under his feet, those words are carved in stone, a warning to tyrants, a promise to the free. Come and take them. If this story hit different, subscribe. Hit the bell. I've got way more forgotten history to share. And here's my question for you. Drop it in the comments. In a world where we value safety above all else, does the Spartan mindset still matter? Or is it a relic of a violent past we should leave behind? I'll be reading your answers. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.